So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our side event titled I Want to Live On documentary film premiere and discussion. My name is Chie Sunada. I'm the Director of Disarmament and Human Rights, Soka Gakkai International, SGI, and I'll be the moderator today. And we are very delighted to co-organize alongside this event alongside the permanent mission of Republic of Kazakhstan to the United States nation and the Center for International Security and Policy of Kazakhstan and ICANN. And thank you so much for joining today, Melissa. And please join me to welcoming the speaker of the event, Mr. Arman Vaisvanov, the Director of Department of the International Security of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We're very happy to welcome you again. We introduced you the trailer of this film at the NPT Precom on August. Now, today we are able to share the full version today. And Mr. Hirotsugu Terasaki, he's the SGI Director General of the Peace and Global Issue. And Mr. Alimjan Akemetov, he is the Director of the Center for International Security and Policy of Kazakhstan. And then Ms. Aygerim Yergeldu of Semey City. She is a third-generation survivor of nuclear test. Thank you very much. And this session will first begin with some opening remarks, followed by the screening of a film titled I Want to Live On, the Untold Story from the Polygon. We will then go on to speech highlighting the humanitarian impact of nuclear weapons. The program will conclude with Q&A session, where I encourage all of you to ask thoughtful questions, which will further deepening our reflection here today. Before we begin, I'd like to thank each of you for joining today's session. Many of you are aware of the victim assistance and environmental remediation through the Article 6 and 7 of TPNW. It is vital for us to keep the devastating consequences of the nuclear weapons in our mind during a time when the nuclear threats are increasing in a global discourse. We especially welcome Ms. Aygerim Yergeldu, a third-generation victim of those nuclear tests, her story will help us to understand better the catastrophic and long-term consequences of these inhumane weapons. As we begin, I'd like to welcome Mr. Arman Vaisvanov, Director of Department of International Security of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I am pleased to welcome all of you, and I especially pleased to welcome Ms. Melissa Park from ICANN for participation in this event organized by Center for International Security and Soka Gakkai International. This morning we already heard very touching personal accounts of descendants of nuclear survivors, even separated by thousands of kilometers of ocean and land masses, spread out across different continents. The survivors of nuclear use and testing are united by a common tragedy. To this end, it is a privilege to personally welcome Ms. Aygerim, a young lady from my country, a third-generation survivor. Aygerim is a staunch example of the strong willpower and perseverance of the Kazakh people. She won battle against cancer, and I'm really happy she can join us today to help people see with their own eyes what catastrophic and long-term consequences for humans and the environment the test of these human weapons lead.
Speak up a little bit, please.
Yes, at the first session of the NPT Preparatory Committee in August in Vienna, I was privileged to introduce the trailer of that movie for documentary film. Now it is a full version presented for your attention. It is based on interviews with people affected by nuclear testing, reflecting their suffering and hopes. Today, I am equally honored to be present at this formal screening. We hope that this documentary will be shown shortly will give the opportunity to share the stories of victims of nuclear tests in Kazakhstan and be heard by international community and as many like-minded people as possible. By supporting and sharing personal stories as part of the educational process in the field of nuclear disarmament, my country pays tribute to our own people and all other survivors across the world, but also makes an important contribution in the global process of nuclear disarmament. I wish every one of us a productive and enriching discussion. Thank you, and Rahmet in Kazakh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hirotsugu Terasaki, SGI Director General of Peace and Global Issue.
Yeah. Allow me to thank everyone for your participation in this side event. I would especially like to recognize and thank Director Arman Bais of the MFF of the Republic of Kazakhstan for his important remarks. And once again, following the first session of the preparatory committee for the 2026 NPT Review Conference, we have enjoyed the support of the Kazakhstan government and the Center for International Security and Policy, CISP, in organizing a side event focused on the victims of nuclear weapons testing. I wish to express my sincere thanks to all those involved. The past 2 months have seen the outbreak of wide-scale violence between Israel and the Gaza Strip, and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine continues to heighten the risk that nuclear weapons could actually be used. Despite these conditions, last year's NPT Review Conference failed to adopt a final statement, and the first precom for the 2026 Review Conference for the first time did not produce a Chie's summary. Then, in November, the government of Russia announced their decision to revoke its ratification of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, CTBT, a serious setback for the cause of nuclear disarmament. These realities all make this convening of the second meeting of states parties of the TPNW all the more important and a crucial opportunity to revive momentum for nuclear disarmament and abolition. The preamble of the TPNW declares, quote, mindful of the unacceptable suffering of and harm caused to the victims of the use of nuclear weapons, Hibakusha, as well as of those affected by the testing of nuclear weapons, end quote. Today is the first public showing of the documentary I want to live on, the untold story of the program created by CISP with the support of the SCI. It records the voices of victims of nuclear weapons testing, powerfully and effectively communicating the inhumanity and folly of nuclear weapons. I remember looking over the desolate vastness of the nuclear test sites formerly known as Semipalatinsk. The shock of witnessing firsthand the terrible damage inflicted there is something I will never forget. Debate about nuclear weapons tend to revolve around deterrence theory and other questions of an abstract political nature. Against that backdrop, I think this documentary, which conveys the threat posed by nuclear weapons and the reality of the damage can helping bring the focus back to lived realities and experiences of people. As such, I am confident that it will prove to be valuable educational tool. It is just because the path to a world without nuclear weapons is strewn with difficulties that it is vital that people everywhere raise their voices to challenge current assumptions that nuclear weapons are somehow necessary for human society, or that they can be basis for building safe and secure societies. The Soka Gakkai International SGI will continue to educate the public about the suffering of Gol Hibakusha and to promote victim assistance and environmental remediation as called for in Article 6 and 7 of the TPNW. The voices of real people shared in today's presentation will be invaluable in that effort. I would like to conclude my remarks by calling on all present today to continue to inform the public about the threat of nuclear weapons and the inhuman harm they cause, and to shift the goal tide toward nuclear disarmament. Thank you so much.
Mr. Animujan Kemeto, please.
Yes.
Where is yours?
Well, let me first of all thank for the support of this event Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, Soka Gakkai International, and of course international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. And thank you, Melissa, for coming today. And this film became a reality because of the strong support from the Soka Gakkai International, and myself, and the operators and the staff of CISP, we traveled around the former Semipalatinsk nuclear test site and visited several villages and interviewed people in first, second, and third generation. And this film is based on these interviews. And as Mr. Baisuanov mentioned in his presentation, that the trailer of this film was shown at the first meeting of the preparatory committee for the NPT in this August in Vienna. And what I wanted to underline that when we were making this film, we interviewed one of the heroes of this film. His name is Dmitry Veselov, and he was at the side event in Vienna this August. And in the film, he shares that he is not recognized as a disabled person, even that he has a disease caused by the nuclear tests, and he, nevertheless, that he was recognized as a survivor in third generation. And after the side event in Vienna, thank you to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that this issue was pushed, and just this last month in October, he was recognized by medical authorities in Kazakhstan as a disabled person. This is the practical input of this film. And I think that it will be continued, because after this premiere, it will be put on, it's already on YouTube, and we will share the link, of course. And the main idea that when diplomats, researchers, academias, when we talk about nuclear disarmament and how it's important, it's a lot of reports and declarations and conclusion documents are adopted, but often it's a risk that we forget that behind all these papers, ordinary people, and they're still affected by nuclear testing and nuclear weapon use. And this film, I hope, will remind us that behind all of these issues, just human beings that wants to live on, as you will see in this film. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you all the welcome words. Now I'd like to introduce the film I Want to Live On, the untold story from the Polygon. Thank you very much. That was very powerful message from the nuclear test survivors and it shows us the shocking reality of nuclear weapons. Now, to make those stories even more real, I'd like to invite our next speaker, Aygrim Yerugeridu. She was born in Semey City, former Semey-Palatinsk, and lived in other village for a while, then moved back to Semey in 1998. She is recognized as a survivor in her third generation. Please join me in giving her a round of applause.
Қайырлы күн, құрметті конференция қатысушылары. Добрый день, уважаемые участники. Я рада приветствовать всех на этой встрече. Я Айгерим Ельгельда, мне 35 лет. Я родом из Казахстана, города Семей. Прежде чем начать свое выступление, я бы хотела выразить слова благодарности Министерству иностранных дел Казахстана, Soka Gakkai International, Международной компании по запрету ядерного оружия ICANN и Центру международной безопасности и политики за возможность выступить сегодня на данном мероприятии.
Good afternoon, dear participants. I'm happy to welcome everyone here. I am Aygeri Yergelde, 35 years old. I'm from Kazakhstan, from Semey City. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, Soka Gakkai International, the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, and the Center for International Security and Policy for the opportunity to be here today and share my personal story.
Как я уже говорила в начале, я родом из города Семей, Семипалатинск в Казахстане. Это город знаменит тем, что в свое время здесь выросли многие известные деятели культуры, политики, искусства. Но, к сожалению, для всего мира этот город известен еще и тем, что в этом регионе на протяжении долгих 40 лет проводились испытания ядерного оружия.
As I have mentioned before, I am from the Semey, and this city is famous for the fact that many Kazakh famous cultural figures, politicians and artists were born here. But unfortunately for the whole world, this city is also known for the fact that nuclear weapons were tested here, that nuclear weapons tests were conducted in this region for 40 years.
Согласно архивным данным, на территории 18 500 квадратных километров с 1949 по 1989 годы на Семипалатинском полигоне было проведено 473 ядерных взрыва, в том числе 90 воздушных, 26 наземных, 354 подземных. Кроме ядерных испытаний здесь произведено 175 взрывов с применением химических веществ, из них 44 с зарядами более 10 тонн.
According to archival data, 473 nuclear explosions were conducted out at the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site, including 90 in air, 26 on the ground, and 354 underground ones, covering area of 18,500 square kilometers from 1949 to 1989. In addition to these nuclear tests, 175 chemical explosions were carried out, 44 of them with charges of more than 10 tons.
Пожалуй, по-настоящему историческим событием стал отказ молодой республики от испытания этого страшнейшего оружия и от четвертого по величине ядерного арсенала. Безусловно, для всех нас, казахстанцев, это предмет большой радости и гордости.
Perhaps a truly historic event was the refusal of the young republic to test this most terrible weapon, and from the fourth largest nuclear arsenal. Of course, for all of us, Kazakhstani people, this is a subject of great joy and pride.
Но, к сожалению, для нашей страны все эти 40 лет испытаний не прошли бесследно. Окружающей среде региона нанесен непоправимый урон. Пострадали животные, птицы, загрязнены водные ресурсы. Но страшнее всего пострадали люди, проживающие в регионе.
But unfortunately for our country, all these 40 years of testing have not passed without a trace. The region's environment was irreparably damaged, animals and birds were affected, and water resources were polluted. But worst of all, people who lived in the region were affected.
Конечно, я не застала многие из этих ядерных испытаний, когда прогремел последний взрыв на полигоне в 1989 году, мне исполнилось лишь 1 год. И тем не менее, для многих жителей нашего региона, в том числе меня, ядерные испытания не прошли бесследно. Я отношусь к 3-му поколению людей, пострадавших от испытаний ядерного оружия.
Of course, I didn't see many of these nuclear tests. When the last explosion was conducted in 1989, I was only 1 year old. And yet for many residents of our region, including me, the nuclear tests did not pass without a trace. I am one of the 3rd generation of people affected by nuclear weapons tests.
В 2015 году, в августе, врачи у меня диагностировали увеличенные лимфоузлы в левой надключичной области. Какое-то время применяли антибактериальное лечение, но это не дало необходимого эффекта. Лимфоузлы продолжали расти, а мое самочувствие ухудшалось. Дальше идем.
In August 2015, doctors diagnosed me with enlarged lymph nodes in the left supraclavicular. For some time, an antibacterial treatment was used, but this did not give the necessary effect. My lymph continued to grow and my health worsened.
Постоянно ощущала недомогание, очень ухудшилась память, постоянно чувствовала себя дезориентированной. Болезнь очень сильно отразилась на мне, и в эмоциональном плане было очень тяжело осознать, что я столкнулась с этой болезнью.
I was constantly feeling myself unwell. My memory was very poor and I constantly felt disoriented. The disease affected me very much emotionally. It was very difficult to accept and realize that I was faced this disease.
Позже меня направили в Центр ядерной медицины и онкологии города Семей, где я прошла дополнительное обследование. В результате был установлен диагноз нодулярный склероз, поражение внутригрудных и надключичных лимфоузлов.
Later, I was sent to the Center of Nuclear Medicine and Oncology in Semey, where I had an additional medical examination. As a result, the following diagnosis was given: the nodular sclerosis with lesions of the intrathoracic and supraclavicular lymph nodes.
С того времени я прошла множество курсов лучевой и химиотерапии. Были удалены лимфоузлы. Из-за этого я не могу поднять левую руку вверх. Была назначена и таргетная терапия.
Since then, I have went through many courses of the radiation therapy and chemotherapy. My lymph nodes were removed, and because of this, I cannot lift my left arm up. Targeted therapy was also prescribed.
В 2022 году у меня вновь произошел рецидив, вновь наблюдалось увеличение лимфоузлов слева в подвздошной области, а в настоящее время я прохожу иммунотерапию.
In 2022, the lymph nodes increased again on the left side of the iliac region, and I'm currently receiving immunotherapy.
Пару месяцев назад лимфоузлы образовались еще и в области шеи, брюшной полости левого легкого.
A couple of months ago, lymph nodes were also formed in the neck, abdominal cavity and left lung.
Вот уже более 8 лет я борюсь с этим онкологическим заболеванием. Пусть болезнь не поддается лечению, но это не дается для меня легко. Постоянные боли в суставах, отеки, постоянная слабость, головокружение, сонливость. Вследствие болезни вынуждена себя во многом ограничивать. Мне нельзя поднимать тяжести, противопоказаны физические нагрузки, вредны риски перепады температуры. Я не могу, как многие обычные люди, радоваться солнцу.
I have been fighting cancer for more than 8 years now. This disease may be treatable, but it doesn't come easily to me. Constant joint pain, swelling, constant weakness, dizziness, drowsiness. As a result of this disease, I have to limit myself in many ways. I cannot lift weights, do sport. Sudden temperature changes are harmful. I cannot enjoy the sun like many ordinary people.
Но, пожалуй, самое тяжелое, я не могу иметь детей. Это большая душевная боль для меня. не иметь, возможности познать радость материнства.
But perhaps the most difficult thing is that I cannot have children. It is the great heartache for me not to be able to experience the joy of motherhood.
Но с другой стороны, я понимаю, что став мамой, я бы подвергла своих детей риску пройти через такую же боль и страдания. Это очень тяжело.
But on the other hand, I understand that becoming a mom would put my children at risk of going through the same pain and suffering. It's very hard.
Все эти трудности мне помогают преодолевать мои родные и близкие. У меня большая семья. Это мой папа, мама, мои братья и сестренка. Спасибо моему супругу, который меня поддерживает и помогает все это время. Папа и мама оказывали мне очень большую моральную поддержку. Позже я познакомилась со своим супругом, который также стал для меня надежной опорой.
My family and friends helped me to overcome all these challenges. I have a big family, my father, mother, brothers and a sister. My dad and mom gave me a lot of moral support. And later I met my spouse, who supports me and helped me all this time.
Именно его чуткость, забота, поддержка помогли мне преодолеть депрессию, вновь жить полноценной жизнью. Спасибо и врачам Центра ядерной медицины и онкологии, которые все эти годы помогают мне победить болезнь.
It was his sensitivity, care and support that helped me overcome my depression and live a life again. Thanks to the doctors of the Center of Nuclear Medicine and Oncology who have been helping me to overcome this disease all these years.
Вообще проблема онкологических заболеваний не нова для меня и моей семьи. В прошлом онкологию диагностировали у моей тети в 1999 году, а в 2004 году у моей мамы. Конечно, наука еще спорит о происхождении онкологических заболеваний, но лично мое мнение, рост числа онкологических заболеваний в нашем регионе – это прямое влияние ядерных испытаний.
The problem of cancer is not new for me and my family. In the past, cancer was diagnosed by my aunt in 1999 and my mother in 2004. Of course, science still disputes the origins of cancer, but my personal opinion is that the growing number of cancer disease in my region is a direct influence from nuclear tests.
К сожалению, таких семей, как моя, столкнувшись с последствиями испытаний ядерного оружия, сотни тысяч.
Unfortunately, there are hundreds of thousands of families like mine who have faced the consequences of nuclear weapon tests.
Сегодня, ощутив на себе все тяготы, связанные с онкологией, я стремлюсь поддерживать всех тех, кто также столкнулся с этой бедой. У нас целое сообщество, в котором мы стараемся морально и эмоционально поддерживать тех, кто столкнулся с этой проблемой. Делимся советами, опытом, делаем все возможное, чтобы люди не поддавались отчаянному страху.
Today, having experienced all the hardships associated with the cancer, I strive to support all those who also face this disease. We have a whole community in which we try to morally and emotionally support those who have just encountered this problem, share advice, experience, and do everything possible so that people do not give up to this fear.
Несмотря на то, что Семипалатинский испытательный полигон оставил за собой множество проблем, одна из ключевых – это реабилитация пострадавшего населения. С возвращением городу статуса областного центра появились новые возможности и направления социально-экономического развития области.
Despite the fact that the Semipalatinsk nuclear test site has left behind many problems, and one of the key ones is the rehabilitation of the affected population. With the return of the status of the regional center to the city, new opportunities and directions of social economic development of the region have appeared.
Область Сабая стала более привлекательной для инвесторов сотрудничества в разных сферах, в том числе с уникальным центром ядерной медицины. Я думаю, возможно, совместные усилия дадут новый импульс в преодолении проблем региона.
The new Abai region has become more attractive for investors, cooperation in various fields, including the Center of Nuclear Medicine. I think perhaps joint efforts and collaboration will give a new impetus to overcoming the problems of the region.
Но самое главное, я убеждена, что ту трагедию и боль, которую пережили и продолжают переживать мои соотечественники из-за ядерных испытаний, никогда не должна повториться. Люди в 21 веке должны применять энергию атома лишь в мирных целях, во благо прогресса и развития. Спасибо, на этом у меня все.
But most importantly, I'm convinced that the tragedy and pain that my people have experienced and continue to experience due to nuclear tests should never happen again. People in 21st century should use the energy of the atom only for peaceful purposes, for the benefits and progress and development. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Agim, for your very powerful speech. Firstly, I want to thank you for traveling from Kazakhstan to joining us today despite your health condition and ongoing medical treatment. I listened to your testimony with a heavy heart, but at the same time, I'm very amazed how you fight your disease so courageously. I also am very grateful for your family and husband's support and make today's speech possible. Your speech was really, really powerful. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to proceed the Q&A. Please introduce yourself with your name, where you're from, and the delegation you represent before stating your question and whom it is directed. Please raise your hand if you have questions. Anyone? Thank you, Melissa.
Melissa Park from ICANN. Do you have any idea of the approximate number of affected community members in your region? Has the government done any studies of this area of how many affected community members there are?
Sorry, Melissa, you mean the community they created, or in general how many people suffered?
Well, both, I guess. Yeah. If there's an estimate.
Ну, я примерно даже точно прям такого цифры я не знаю, но
If you know.
очень много. Вот, допустим, в 2015 году.
Громче говорите, я перейду.
В 2015 году, допустим, когда я вот начала вот болеть, получается, тогда были одни пожилые люди. Вот когда я вот лечилась в больнице. Но позже, где-то вот 2022 года, начались уже вот онкологические заболевания, вот уже как бы молодеть. Вот, молодых очень много.
I do not know exact numbers, but what I can say, when I was diagnosed with this disease in 2015, there were a lot of old people who was ill with cancer. But last year I found out that that this disease is getting younger and younger.
Вообще вот я вот про свою подругу хочу вот рассказать, если можно. Допустим, вот.
And I would like to make additional comment.
Вот со мной она вместе лежала вот с 2015 года. Сейчас, к сожалению, ее нету в живых, так как вот из-за этого ядерного оружия, вот то, что вот испытание, это по-любому, это вот из-за этого вот самый первый это признак, это вот от испытания, я думаю, то, что мы заболели, то, что вот эта вот болезнь, которая вот на мне в течение 8 лет, хотя вот я и лечение получаю, но почему-то она как бы не уходит. Так как и много лечений получаем, много вот облучений получаем, но все равно она остается у меня внутри.
Про подругу или какие?
Ну получается, имеется в виду, это вот знаете, подруга моя вот тоже болела где-то около 5 лет. Вот 5 лет она боролась, после 5 лет изначально сказали, что у нее все хорошо, а в итоге у нее были ухудшения. Болезнь как бы не поддавалась лечению. Таким образом, ее сейчас в живых нету. Это вот самое такое тяжелое, самое печальное вот в моей жизни.
I also would like to share that what's the most difficult what I experienced these recent years, that I had my friend, and she was also sick with the cancer, and she got treatment during 5 years, and but unfortunately she passed away. She couldn't overcome this disease, and I believe that also that this disease because of nuclear tests, the impact of nuclear tests, and also I see that I received treatment more than 8 years, and this disease that I cannot overcome for sure, this disease.
Can I just note that every one of these stories is a tragedy, every one of them, and your film is so moving, and so thank you for the film.
Спасибо, что поделились историей.
Thank
Это
you for
трагедия, и спасибо за фильм.
Thank you for your courage and strength in coming here.
Спасибо, что приехали сюда.
May I just add regarding the number of people affected? We released our national report. It is available on TPNW website, and there are various estimates starting from 1.1 million people to 1.5 million. And the first number is based on the number of people who received compensation. It is statistical data. Compensation for residing in Semipalatinsk region when nuclear explosions were conducted. Second number, 1.5 million, includes also second and third generation survivors. This is approximate number, but we need to look into that further, because as you can see that incidence of cancer grow in Semipalatinsk region, so they are also recognized as the second and third generation victims.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now,
Привет, ваше выступление. My name is Kyle Tucker, and I'm a Scoville Peace Fellow, currently based out of Washington, D.C. I actually lived in Kazakhstan this past year and visited Sunada and saw the monument with my own eyes. It was very touching. And my question concerns the future of Abai Oblast and the people that live there for the younger generations. We talked about how the younger generations will be affected, of course, but I'm interested to hear more about how the region is moving beyond this very painful legacy and the opportunities for growth and development to help the children and the future generations within that area. Thank you so much.
thank you. Your question is for Idri?
Yeah.
Ага, он вас спрашивает, что вот какое будущее у региона с таким наследием, как можно позаботиться, какое будущее будет у более молодого поколения, что можно это сделать.
Я даже не знаю, какое поколение будет.
Could you repeat again your question, please?
For the future generations, the opportunities to remember the painful legacy, but move forward and give them more opportunities to help the region grow and develop.
Как можно помочь региону развиваться и передавать это знание молодым поколениям, чтобы такое было наследие, чтобы это не забывалось?
Я даже не знаю, что даже на этот вопрос, как вообще ответить, просто вот честно. Так как прям таких этих ответов, может, вы мне поможете?
Maybe Mr. Vice, you can
this is a difficult question because a lot depends on assistance, on government's funding, on assistance from NGOs, on international community. It is not coincidence that Agirim mentioned not only health impact of nuclear weapons, psychological impact like depression, anxiety, fear of isolation, and so on. There is a medical center, Agirim mentioned it, the medical and radiological and oncology center in Semey. They are dealing with it, and I believe they are doing very good job because we borrowed some statistical data from their research in our national reports, and they're very good professionals. What they really need is resources, maybe people, expertise, knowledge, funding, and we need everything. I mean, Semipalatinsk region needs everything in order to effectively deal with the current challenges and future challenges. We don't know what future challenges are actually, because it is unpredictable. We need to consider it as a separate challenge, the future generations.
Thank you very much.
My name is Lars Pohlmeier. I'm with the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War. Spasiba вам большое за ваш доклад. Thank you very much for your talk. I would be interested in, is there any collaboration with the Russian government, which is the legal successor, at least when it comes to the part of nuclear weapons? Do you have scientific support? Is there collaboration? Is there any financial support? Because you were victimized by the nuclear testing, and it was the responsibility of Moscow rather than of Kazakhstan.
During the Soviet period, a special department of the Ministry of Health, USSR Ministry of Health, was stationed in Semipalatinsk region, and they were charged with monitoring of health status of local residents and military personnel stationed in that region. They accumulated a vast amount of data, which they shared and share with our specialists and experts. And as far as I know, there are joint collaborations, joint projects with Russian institutions and universities on the impact of radiation on the local population. So at the level of scientific research, collaboration is a...
And financial support?
Financial support, usually it is, if there is a joint project, it is co-sponsored by both sides.
No compensation, that's what I have in mind. No financial compensation.
Compensation was paid by the government of Kazakhstan. In 1993, a law on Semipalatinsk region was adopted, providing one-time compensation to every person who was eligible to compensation, who lived during the nuclear testing and got affected. And there have been no compensation from the Russian government.
Can I add?
Yes, sure.
If you allow me, I will add. I think it's important here to separate, because your question covers two blocks. First block is cooperation with Russian Federation on delimitarization and cleanups with the former Semipalatinsk nuclear test site. And Kazakhstan cooperated with Russia and US, when what was the secret operation Sapphire, when the plutonium was removed from Kazakhstan to US and etc. But from the side of social, economical and health, there is no cooperation between Kazakhstan. even to my mind, it's my personal opinion, why we say, for example, the first president of Kazakhstan said that there were 456 nuclear explosions. Aigirim in her state presentation said 470 something. We do not know exactly the number because the figures were, it was counted by Soviet Union, and now we don't know the exact numbers of it. We're not for sure. This is the problem.
Yes, when I said that information was shared, it was medical data that was shared, not information about the number of tests conducted, the nature of those tests, and so on. It is a military domain, and that is still area to be explored.
Okay, thank you so much. And there's, okay, maybe you two both go ahead.
My name is Ben. I'm here at 2MSP reporting for a new publication called Spoiler Alert. And I'm just interested in, picking up on these questions that we just heard about the Russian Federation. And I know that they didn't give an explanation in the General Assembly of their vote against the resolution that Kazakhstan and Kiribati put forward. And I'm just wondering if you have hopes that Russia will engage with the Article 6 and 7 process in the future, and if there's anything more that you're hoping from the Russian Federation in terms of information exchanges and other sorts of technical assistance.
Yes, thank you. My name is Moderator, and I'm also coming from Kazakhstan, and as citizen of Kazakhstan, I may ask my government to say, do you have any plans to make Russia fake what we did during the Soviet occupation? Because of this nuclear tests.
Okay. Would you like to?
Yeah, answering to the first question, we know that after each meeting of the state parties of TPNW, all five nuclear powers issue similar statements that they do not recognize TPNW. They stress that TPNW undermines NPT, and they are not going to cooperate in order to implement any of TPNW provisions. It is clear, and it is also the position of Russian Federation. And I believe that's why UK, France, and Russia did not support resolution on victim assistance and environmental remediation presented by Kazakhstan and Kiribati. Their position is very clear, but we are grateful to the United States and China, who abstained. They did not vote against. That's a step in the right direction, I believe. Regarding the second question, I would not say that it was an occupation. We were part of the same country for 70 years. And although Semipalatinsk region happened to be the test site, and it could have happened anywhere in any region of the Soviet Union. And some survivors in the documentary mentioned that they were unlucky to live in that area where nuclear testing was conducted, but it could have been any place in Kazakhstan or any place in other Soviet republics.
Thank you so much. Are there anyone who'd like to ask questions?
I'm Gwen Boyd from Physicians for Social Responsibility and Back to the Break. Thank you for your presentation. Are there plans, is it practical to try to remove topsoil, or is that just, is it practical, too expensive, and not adapting, or I guess it's mitigating action?
There are plans, of course, but plans become a reality when they are funded. Our experts divided actually the nuclear test site into 3 zones: less maximum security, medium security, and moderate security. The 3rd zone is available for release for into public domain, for example. 2nd zone need to be cleaned, and the 1st zone should be cordoned, and no one should be allowed into that. But it requires a lot of resources and funding, and we are personally interested. We are invested in creating this international trust fund, because we need expertise, we need resources, and we need funding, international funding, to deal with those issues. And this is just a part of the problem, because victim assistance is our priority.
Thank you. Are there anyone who like questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the speakers and the participants for your engagement to the dialogue. The film I Want to Live On that you just saw will be available on YouTube soon. So you can Google, of course, the title, I Want to Live On, or our social media channel, SGI Owner, will introduce the link soon. So I hope you will see the film again and share your thought on the comment as well. Thank you once again for your participation, and now I'd like to conclude the event. Thank you very much.